So roll call, I guess we just did. So should we do the Pledge of Allegiance?
You should do it anyway because it wasn't recorded.
Okay. Roll call. Could everybody let us know who's here? This is Alder Crocker.
Karen Roseman.
Dan Van Horn.
Julie DeMarco.
Sheila Tessie.
Okay.
Great. And then we'll hopefully hear from some other folks. Is Tom present?
Nope.
Okay. And the folks from the RTM Senior and Disabled Tax Relief?
Nope.
Okay, then.
After we do the pledge, I'll go check the door one more time, okay?
Perfect. Okay. So let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Great.
All right, start it up.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Oh, I'm sorry.
To the flag of the United States of America.
To the republic for which it stands.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay.
All right, terrific. So one of the things that we instituted a couple of meetings ago was that we would like to review the Commission's charges and goals. So if it's all right, what I'll do is I'll read from the paper that Julie was so kind to send around. And our charge is primarily to ensure that Fairfield is a welcoming community where people with disabilities can lead inclusive and fulfilling lives, participating and contributing as active members of our town. And we've got 5 primary goals as well. The Commission strives to create a forum for community members to, 1, increase awareness about issues and opportunities affecting people with disabilities. 2, to advise town officials on policies, procedures, programs, and services, including facilities. 3, to provide information and guidance to individuals, businesses, and organizations on matters related to disabilities. 4, to foster and promote a community dialogue with businesses, community organizations, clubs, and associations. And 5th, but certainly not least, engage people with disabilities and their families, encouraging them to participate in town government and planning. Okay, so if, Julie, if you had a chance to take a look at the door, just to see if the folks from the RTM would be around, that'd be great, please.
Yep, Sheila just went and nobody was at the door.
Okay, then. This might be a short meeting.
Exactly.
Adrienne is not here as of yet. Adrienne, did you pop in? Nope. Okay. And then from an ADA compliance update, Julie, is that something that you wanted to talk about? Or no, actually, that's something I'm sorry that Tom Bremer was going to provide us insight and an update about. And I don't think Tom is available at the moment.
No, Tom's on.
Oh, good, Tom. You're on then.
Oh,
I made it.
All right, Tom. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
Oh, we're well, thank you. So, Tom, you are our recent ADA edition, and we were fortunate to come up with a couple of questions, wondering whether or not you'd be able to go that you think is appropriate, and kind of tell us what's going on with you, and how we can help, and what your charges and goals are, and where you are right now, and then if there are any other aspects of that those questions that you can answer, that would be terrific. And by the way, This is Alden.
And how are you today?
We're all well, thank you. I'm so glad you made it.
Yeah, I am too. And so I'll just start, and feel free to cut me off or whatever if there's any questions and that sort of thing. I guess as you know, I'm the Chief Administrative Officer. I'm the ADA Compliance Officer, and I view my role in a couple of different ways. Number one, if there are any complaints that anybody from the public has in terms of accessing anything in town, they find their way to my desk. And in fairness, we've had a few. And I think my role is really primarily is to field those requests and to make sure that if there is either a violation or something that the town has failed to do or is doing, that it gets corrected. And so what I've basically done on a number of occasions is reach out to the various departments, or engineering or something along those lines, and raise the issue and say, hey, what's going on? We need to fix this or whatever. And then I make sure it gets fixed and report back to whoever the complainant is. I have to say that I've had a few of those, and we've been able to address them and fix them, at least to my knowledge, to date. We've had things like access to the beaches and that sort of thing. So we've had some sidewalk issues. We've had some, park benches, and they were too close to mailboxes, and so people in wheelchairs couldn't access either the bench or the mailbox. And I don't mean to bore you with this stuff, but to me, these are all important, and they should all be addressed, and the town is addressing them. So I think that's one of my major roles. I think another role that I've kind of taken on is I really want to make the town more accessible, more ADA friendly is the best way I can put it. And so what I've basically been doing with engineering more than any other department is making sure that for every new development that we're doing, every new capital project, that I'm raising the ADA issue in every one of those meetings, so everyone has become a lot more mindful of things. And what I'm trying to do is just make it a more ADA-friendly town to the extent that we can. And finally, I'm reaching out and I'm really urging Mark Barnhart to get a lot more aggressive. I don't want to use that word, overuse it, but be more aggressive with our business community in terms of their ADA compliance and their ADA, not just compliance, but their, how can I put this, ADA knowledge, ADA accessibility, ADA awareness. And that is going to take a little bit more effort and a little more time than I care to admit, but I have made some inroads with Mark. We are reaching out to a number of local businesses, and my thought is that for those businesses that take up the mantle of if you will, of the ADA accessibility and awareness, is to feature them so that I can get more businesses to become more ADA aware and that sort of thing. So that's really what I've been focusing on really over the last 6 to 9 months. And
Tom,
as I
can
said,
I just interrupt for one thing?
Sure, go ahead.
Who is Mark? Who is Mark?
Oh, I'm sorry. Mark Barnhart works here at the town, and he's our economic development and business guy. So when we talk to restaurants or something like that, he can make a few phone calls, and I can meet with a dozen restaurants real quick, kind of thing, because he has contacts with everybody. So, and he's the guy that I use to, I don't want to say it, overstate it, but influence local businesses and that kind of thing. So we're currently doing a lot of that, what I call groundwork now, and I'm hoping that in the spring we see some real differences locally in the businesses. So that's basically what I've been working on. But I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, if it's okay, you mentioned businesses and retail and the fact that you're trying to bring them, further into compliance or generate, increased awareness and I guess sensitivity overall to folks that are disabled and the community. Is there a list of retail or commercial businesses in Fairfield that are or aren't ADA compliant that might be public knowledge that we could access and review, or even post up on the website or within the community resource guide, without obviously being punitive in any way?
No, I appreciate the question. I don't think there is. I don't think there is such a list. And Julie, you might have more information than I do, but I've asked for that question. I've asked that specific question, and the response I got was no, there is no such list. So to my mind, that's one of the first things that I've asked Mark to start doing is, okay, we need to put a list together, because I really want to get a sense of, again, I guess it's more in terms of trying to raise awareness. I'm trying to get a sense of who is in, who is not, who doesn't care, who does care, that kind of thing. And to my mind, just putting that list together will raise a lot of awareness in and of itself.
I'm listening.
Absolutely.
Julie, I don't know of any such list either. That's one of the parts of the project Sacred Heart University students we're going to be doing, is canvassing businesses to see if they, not necessarily that they're ADA accessible, but that they're, are they ADA friendly? So that'll be interesting to see.
So when is that Sacred Heart? When is that anticipated to be completed?
Adrienne, are you on the phone?
I'm here. Good evening, everyone.
Oh, great.
Good evening.
Great. Glad to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt before, but yeah, so we have been in contact with a group of students that are in the occupational therapy program at Sacred Heart University, and last year they had completed a survey that was intended.
FaceTime.
Sorry? Sorry, I didn't know if it was a question. That was intended to understand the residents of Fairfield, and try to get an understanding of the population of individuals with different types of disability, but also what types of things they would be looking to do to make the town more accessible and also better for daily living. And when we reviewed the survey at our first meeting, we found a couple of things that we wanted to try to improve on. And one of the things was it didn't have as far of an intended reach as we had hoped. I think it landed with about 40 residents. So we, can appreciate that that's not nearly representative of the majority of the town. And we also wanted to reframe some of the questions. So I did have a conversation with the students. I haven't heard back from them. I just sent a follow-up note to see where they are. We have, I think, landed on the final questions, and we wanted to work with them on the technology that we'll use, and also what are the best ways that we can get it out to a broader population of people in the town. So it's still in progress.
Oh, yeah.
So, Adrienne, is there, had you had a chance to mention to the folks at SHU about canvassing the businesses, both commercial and retail, for their consideration of hiring folks with disabilities, and as kind of an adjunct to that, whether or not they would also be able to canvass to look at businesses and retail establishments that are, I guess, ADA friendly. We're not all, and I guess this is more of a question for Tom, there are a lot of aspects to the ADA compliance rules and regulations, a lot of different levels for different, types of businesses. But is that something, or are those things that the SHU students might be available to work with us on?
It's a good question. We have not discussed that. Our focus so far has been on the survey itself. I'm sure that it sounded as if they would be willing to help us, make sure that we can get the word out and talk to businesses. To your point, I don't know if they have the depth of knowledge to maybe speculate whether a business is ADA compliant. So we should definitely talk about that. But as far as willingness and openness to making sure opportunities for employment are available and how we can get the word out, that's certainly something I think we can discuss with them.
Okay, great. Tom, is there Is there a cheat sheet for ADA compliance rules and regulations that
I'm sorry,
I mean, I know the thing is voluminous, but
did you say cheat sheet?
yeah, I guess, a top line understanding of what it means to be ADA compliant.
I'm sure there is. I'm trying to think if I can get my hands on something quick and dirty. But I'm sure there is. Just give me a little time, and I'll see if I can pull something together that I guess what you're looking for is something that you can know from 5,000 feet. Is the restaurant I just walked into, is it ADA compliant? I think that's what you're asking for. I've got to think about it, but I'm sure there's something I should be able to discover. Let me work on that. I'm sure there is.
That'd be great. Just as an example, I love to go to the Sinclair, wonderful restaurant. They could not be, nicer and more accommodating for me personally. With regards to tables or high tops or the bar or whatever it is, but I know that I couldn't get into any of their bathrooms, as an example.
Right.
I'm in an electric wheelchair, so it's different size than a regular wheelchair. But just things of that nature, it's like, okay, all doors have to be a minimum of 29 inches or something, or, all buildings, which I know is not the case, need a, one of those silver square buttons that gets you in and out of a building. I know I'm in an apartment building right now, and they've got one to get out, but they don't have one to get in.
Right. I'm with you.
On one of their two entrances. So just wondering, I think, that 5,000 foot view would just be interesting for us and also might inform the SHU students, as we work through our projects with them.
Yep. I'm
Tom,
sure. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's exciting. Give me some time, and I'll work on getting something together.
This is Dan Van Horn. Sorry about that. I don't know what I did, but I know that our charge as a commission is a bit broader than ADA compliance, but we also, I think one thing we talked about is wanting to learn how we might be a help to you, and knowing that the work you're doing is something that we would want to support in our town. So is there a way, as you stepped into this role, is there a way that you think our commission could support or help some of the work you're trying to do?
I think I need a little bit more time to be able to answer that question. And the reason I'm a little hesitant right now is I'm still trying to get a lay of the land of exactly what needs to be done. Quite honestly, I mean, I'm getting, as I said earlier, I don't know if you were on earlier, but I'm getting, I'm the one who clears the problems and objections or complaints that we get, and so I'm doing that on one hand, but I'm really trying to get some more awareness out in the commercial world, so that I'm really trying to get the town to be more ADA friendly. So I think I need a little bit more time. I think I just don't know if there's a role right now that I want to come to you guys and say, gee, I need help with this or I need help with that. I don't have a sense yet. But I just don't have a sense yet. So let me get down the road a little further, and I appreciate the offer, and I it's not that I want to do all this by myself. Don't get me wrong. But I think I'm sure there's going to be a role that I'm going to need a commission behind me, kind of thing, or just people to call, or people that are going to raise the profile. I want to raise, it's kind of a weird thing in some sense, but I want to kind of raise the profile of people with disabilities within town because they're important. They're people that live here, and we want to be as friendly as we can, and we want to be as aware as we can, and make everybody's life better. I mean, that's why we're here in the town. So, that may require more public outreach than I can just do on my own. It's one thing for me to stand up in a meeting and say X, Y, Z. It's much more effective if I stand up and there's 20 people behind me who say the same thing and go, yeah, listen to them, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm not there yet.
Okay.
This is Adrienne. Would it be helpful? I mean, the timing is so opportune. Would it be helpful to see the survey that we have worked on and see if there would be information we could collect as part of that, given the work that you're doing? Because, for example, as a parent with a child with a disability, I didn't even know there was someone like you in Fairfield we can contact if we have an issue. And do you want us contacting you directly, or is there an office? So I'm thinking, even a question is, do you know who to reach out to if you're having difficulty accessing, a local business or that, and see if people know, or but yeah, I'm happy to share it with you if that could be helpful.
Yeah, I may curse this day because I'll get 300 complaints, but no. Look, I'm the ADA compliance officer, so my attitude is, look, if there are people out there that are, that have a complaint or an issue or whatever, they can send. The best way to handle is send me an email. It's tbremer, BREMER, @fairfieldct.org. The problem I've got, and the problem that I've been facing, and I don't mean a problem with a big P, I mean a problem with a small p, is, I don't have jurisdiction over businesses. I can't do much. I have jurisdiction over the town functions and the governmental buildings and that sort of thing, and really by putting, I'll say, pressure on restaurants and that sort of thing, we have a little bit of weight, but I can't tell, when someone has a problem with a restaurant, for instance, I can't go to that restaurant and say, you got to fix this. It doesn't work that way. So, but I'm more than eager to, if people have issues and they want to at least air them, if nothing else, at least you'll put them on somebody's radar, and I can't guarantee that we can fix all these, but when it comes to the government buildings, I can guarantee we can at least address them. And as far as the other stuff, we can bring what pressure we have to bear, and so I have no problem doing that.
Terrific. Tom, you also mentioned that you have jurisdiction over
Can I ask a question?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, hi. I just would like to ask Tom, is he aware that the town needs a self-evaluation and a transition plan under the statutes of ADA? That every state and local government needs to have one of those. Do we have one?
I believe we do, but I don't believe it's been updated in a long time. And I know right now that engineering is part of Julie and my insistence. The engineering is working on updating that plan. So, but honestly, that plan, I know it's mandated, but I don't think it really. How can I say this? I'm not so sure when all is said and done that it's really that effective to do anything. So I'm really kind of looking at a little bit more than just updating the plan.
But it's the basis, it's the essence of an organization or a town or a city or a local state government to have this plan in place and work from it. For example, I was involved in Norwalk's self-evaluation and transition plan, and it entailed certainly checking on buildings and make sure of their access, but it also included hearing impaired and what to do for folks with hearing impairment at local meetings. And is there a plan for that? I mean, it's a tremendous job.
Oh yeah, no, I understand. Well, as I said, we're updating the plan as we speak. So when that plan is finally finished, be more than happy to share it with the commission, and more than happy to, address anything within the plan, that sort of thing. But yeah, they are working on it, and I'm hoping to have the plan in the near future.
I just hope it's inclusive of I hope it's inclusive of all people with all disabilities, people with cognitive disabilities, people with psychiatric disabilities. It needs to include everybody.
Okay, I understand.
Tom, this is Alder again, and thank you for that question. Wondering, you'd mentioned since, your jurisdiction is over all of the town's buildings, the government buildings, the town government buildings, and that you were reviewing enhancements that you guys have done and, looking for further ones and addressing problems. Is there maybe a past, current, or even a future, outdoor enhancements or building enhancements list of things that you guys have done that we could showcase? Again, looking to post things up for people to recognize exactly, what the town of Fairfield has done on behalf of people with disabilities. Projects that have been completed, parks or sidewalks or buildings or, whatever it might be. Not trying to give you any more homework than you already have, obviously, but just wondering if there might be a list that you have of, or that, somebody might have, that just says, here's what we've done for Fairfield so far, here's what we're doing right now, and here's what we plan on doing in the future, or any of those. Just wondering. Again,
that's exactly what a self-evaluation and transition plan are. It's inclusive of everything that the town has done, everything it needs to do, and ensuring that even the schools are involved because they're part of the town and part of the self-evaluation and transition plan that needs to be done.
Well, to answer the question, do we have a list of those changes and that sort of thing and what we've done and what we plan to do? I don't believe we have such a list. At least I don't have a list. But I don't know if a list exists, and I just don't know about it. So I need to go and ask some people and all that kind of stuff and see. I think it's a great idea. Let's put together what, the different things that we've been doing. I mean, if I see another sidewalk going in with the proper ramp, I'm going to jump up and, I'm going to fall over because they're everywhere. But that's the kind of stuff that we...
They need to go through you to make sure that, is it the engineering or the building department has to make sure that all of these changes are made or that they're included in new construction. I mean, who's making sure of that? You can't do it all, and it needs to be through the department.
Well, that's true, and engineering is doing that, and I'll just leave it at that. So, but all I can tell you is I'm going to look and see what changes we've made and that sort of thing, and I think that's an excellent idea. I'll see if such a thing exists and how difficult it will be to put it together. I have no idea, but let me see what we have before I start making promises one way or the other.
Okay, great.
Julie, I don't think there's a list. Sorry. I don't think there's a list either, Julie. But I do know that Parks and Rec just did their master plan, and the town did the town facilities report. I think I'd be happy to help you try to pull that list together because I know there were some new playgrounds, there were some, the ramps at the beach, the wheelchairs at the beach. There's a bunch of things that were done that I think it would be easy enough to try to compile that list of.
Okay, that'd be great.
Which would be great because it'd be nice just for people to know about that.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
That's good promotion for the progress that's being made.
Well, part of this, I think,
and that can come from your department. It's perfect.
Well, part of this, I think, is educating everyone as to what's available. I think that's excellent.
Great. And just as an aside for people not Tom, when we we ask a question, we make a comment. If you could just mention who you are, just so everybody knows. Again,
Oh,
this
it's
is
Karen Roseman. It's Karen Roseman, the big mouth.
Great. No, Karen. I didn't recognize the voice. Thank you.
No, that's okay, because having done this in Bridgeport, I'm very much aware of it, and I'd really like to help Tom in moving forward with some of the ADA compliance stuff.
Okay, great. This is Tom. Great.
Well, Tom, then maybe you guys have an offline, conversation about that, or leave it up to you. But, again, I think, we're also here to help you in any way that you in the future think that we might be able to. So, that's part of what we want to do, is to be able to, foster your ability to, make progress.
I appreciate it.
Does anybody else have any questions for Tom? Okay, terrific. Julie, would you do us a favor, please, and talk about the ADA anniversary event?
I would love to. Thank you for asking. Before I do that, can I just do one more thing on the SHU project that Shannon had sent along? I wanted to make sure I read this into the record. I'll give it to you.
Please.
Sheila. So Shannon's not able to be here unless she's called on. She wanted to report that she reached out to Rachel Tappa, the Director of Communications for Fairfield Public Schools, asking if she'd be willing to send out the survey once it's ready to go out. She's still waiting for a response, but will follow up. If she were to send it, it would reach the households of all students enrolled in the district. If Rachel cannot send it out, Shannon will reach out to Rob Mancusi, the Director of Special Ed for Fairfield Public Schools, and will ask him if he would be willing to send it out to families of all students receiving special ed services. She thinks he'd be receptive to the idea. Shannon spoke with the president of SEPTA, the Special Ed PTA, and she sent it out to the SEPTA membership. She can send out the survey to SEPTA membership if we need her to.
Terrific.
Yeah.
That's great. Actually, and just as a follow-through on that, Adrian, is there anything else that you'd like to or to report or to mention about the SHU project?
Yeah, and I think that update just raised, and Ms. Adrian, sorry, that update just raised a great point. Is we know that depending on the recipients, some will be individuals who identify with a disability, and others will be caretakers. And so I think it's important that whatever mechanism we use to collect the data, whether it's SurveyMonkey or something else, that we can make that distinction when reading the results. So that's something I put into our question to the students, is because originally I think last year they used the SurveyMonkey tool. This year they were discussing maybe using just Google Sheets instead. And then obviously we need to figure out folks who aren't able to access online, what other mechanisms we can use to try to get this out to as broad an audience in the town as possible. But like I said, I'm hoping to be able to hear back. It's been a little hard. I haven't gotten a lot of response. I did just send another note and copied the professor on it to see if that can help jigger a response. I don't know if they're just quite busy with schoolwork, but I think it would be helpful as a commission if we want to nail down like an absolute date to help to get this out ideally, so that way we can kind of work back from there, because I just worry it's going to kind of drag on and drag on.
No, you make a great point. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
This is Dan Van Horn. Real quickly, from the previous survey that we did, was this something that they kind of administered before the end of the school semester? So like,
yeah, so this is a different group of students. I think the previous students were different class, so that might also be part of this, is they're kind of coming into this new. They didn't have, they had the results and report out, but it's not the same group of students that worked on the initial survey.
Okay. But like,
well, it was done by the end of the semester. I'm sorry, this is Alder. It was done by the end of the semester. Which I guess would be, May or June. So, and then I know that they said that they could continue on through the summer, but it might be appropriate to chat with Mary Ellen and say, we do have a date, and given that it's, March 14th right now, it would be great to get this I mean, honestly, it'd be great to get it finalized in a month or less. But, if we say a month, then, okay, let's say April 15th, tax day, give or take, and say, Mary Ellen, can you do this? Because we really don't want to waste time, and we want to, move this ahead as quickly as possible. Plus, we also would like it if your students would, work on these other projects for us. So, Adrienne, I'm happy to work with you, and, interact with Mary Ellen and either have a conference call or an email or both, and, put the pedal to the metal.
That sounds great. I think I just sent the note. Let's give them maybe till Friday of this week. And then my next step, Alder, and thank you for your help, is I would send maybe a separate email to the two of you and ask if we could just regroup as a team to just finalize details. And of course, again, if their schedules are not permitting, then I understand and we can figure out a way forward. If so, then, certainly I think, if we want to say as a commission, our goal is to get this out within, by, March, by April 15th. I think we want to get it out before the end of the school year, obviously, otherwise we'll risk not getting the parents' responses. And there is the Fairfield Public School spring break is the week of April 9th. So maybe if we targeted the week of April 17th, not that it's just about the children, obviously, but just being thoughtful of the work about trying to get the email out to the Fairfield Public Schools.
Sure. No, that makes great sense. And also we want to have, the students have enough time to be able to crunch the numbers and come back to us with, okay, well, what does this mean? What do you see here? What are the results that, have actual impact and opportunity for us to take advantage of, sooner than later. Last thing we want is for this all of a sudden to be September and be like, oh, yeah, that's right.
Right. Well, I think if, as a commission, we think April 17th is a good goal, I'm happy to work with that. And then that certainly puts the pressure. I feel confident that the bulk of the work is really done. We've outlined the questions. It's now the formalities of, what tool are we going to use? What will the communication look like? And then outside of email and newsletter, how do we get to folks who don't use the computer, who need assistance with, who maybe, need assistance with completing a survey? What can be our plan? And that's what I was looking forward to discussing with the students as well. Like they had said, we could set up maybe a table, at the town green, or, attend different events that may be going up and try to encourage folks to complete the survey that maybe wouldn't have access to email or wouldn't have received it online.
That makes great sense. And then also, obviously, wrapping it around being able to get the lists to be able to send it out to. So we'd want to be able to get those in, the next 4 or 5 weeks, get them set up. Okay, great. Well, I'm happy to, if it doesn't come to fruition by Friday or so, I'm happy to work directly with you and Mary Ellen on that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Sure. And you actually mentioned something that I think follows right into asking Julie to help us out with the ABA anniversary event. Julie, do you have a moment to discuss that with us?
Sure. Basically, I think I sent to all of you the announcement that there's grant money available of up to $500 to use to have an event that celebrates the anniversary of the ADA, and that's in July. So what this commission, if we want to do something, needs to just come up with an idea of what we'd want to do, whether it's an actual event or we could do some kind of mailing, a targeted mailing, just letting people know that we're here and that Tom is here. There's a whole bunch of things, but it would be great if everybody could give some thought to, how we want to how and if we want to celebrate this year, and
So like a flyer with Tom's personal cell phone number?
Yes. And a link to the survey.
Just kidding, Tom. I'm totally kidding.
Yeah, with his address. Yeah. So, I don't, you guys you should probably discuss it and maybe by email come up with some ideas of things you'd want to do. I'm not sure that we have the capacity right now for a big event, but does that mean we could have a table at a farmer's market and hand out brochures and information? Sure, we could. Or you know, we just have to use our imagination a little bit.
Sure, and that actually sounds like one of the most viable opportunities, and that's something that either the commission can work with, or I do know that Mary Ellen from SHU, the professor, said that she does have students throughout the summer as well, so maybe we can tap into them on that. So when Adrian and I, get together with Mary Ellen, we'd love to. I think it'd be appropriate for us to bring that up also.
That's a great idea. You know what? The other thing, Alder, is that while you're talking to Mary Ellen, if she has summer students, that might be the group that's able to kind of take a look at, an area of businesses like downtown restaurants or something like that. And there's a way to make up stickers that go in the windows that, will, that's something that money could be used towards too in celebration of the ADA anniversary. So, as you're talking to her, maybe she'll have some great ideas.
Terrific. That's a great idea. Hey, Tom, quick question. Following up on what Julie just said, do the retail establishments, say along Fairfield Avenue, along Post Road, do they know if they are or aren't are not in compliance? Forget that, but if they're ADA compatible or compliant or compatible? I guess either way.
Compliant.
Tom, are you still here? Okay, well, we can find that out and get back to you. I got to think that if they're leasing a building, it would be, the building would be, maybe not the restaurant would know. I don't know that they have control over that, but that's certainly a question we can get more information about.
Just to interject, this is Karen Roseman again. If the engineering department has been on top of every building that's been built since 1980, then buildings should all be compliant, because they needed, in order to get a building permit, they needed to make sure that they were accessible for folks with disabilities.
Good point.
Does anyone know that if that's true, or is that part of the purview of the engineering department?
I think that would be probably a Tom response.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but that makes great sense, Karen. Okay,
then
so
everything should be.
This is Adrienne. I just wanted to say something about the ADA celebration. I love the idea of the stand at the farmers market, and just reading the other information Julie sent over. I think in the summer, folks are always looking for activities, so maybe it's also a way to highlight things around town that are accessible in different ways. So it would be great, I think, to even speak to, like you said, part of the speak to the community and see if there are things we can share with folks as they come to meet the commission, and also share resources of different things that can be done around town that are accessible and across a variety of ways. Like, I don't know if everyone knows, to your point, that the beach has the wheelchair, or I'm curious if the new SHU theater that puts on productions, do they have accommodations for folks who are hearing impaired, or just try to understand different things we can share with folks that have ways to engage in the community.
Sure.
Julie, again, I love that idea. If we were able to compile a list to be able to send out a positive message with all of that information. Oh, it's summertime. You can go to the peanut butter and jelly jam concerts at the beach, and that's accessible to all. And I love that idea, Adrienne.
This is Marty Schwartz. I'm actually a liaison with the committee, and just thought about the ADA anniversary event. I'm wondering if, first of all, the first selectman might be able to include something about that in their email. And the other thing I was wondering is if we could ask the local stores if they would like to be listed on a group of facilities or buildings that are ADA compliant.
Great idea.
Yeah.
And it might motivate more stores to try to meet that requirement.
No, I think that's a great idea. I think something that people probably aren't just, it's not top of mind by any stretch, is that, you know, there is a fair amount of financial power in the families with disabilities. So, you know, there's quote unquote money to be had if more people get outside and get into the retail establishments, et cetera. So,
I mean, it might motivate more of the businesses in the area to work toward ADA compliance as well.
yeah, I mean, I know a couple of people who have disabilities that don't go out that often because they're not sure which places are, and they, you know, feel embarrassed and upset when they go someplace and it's not appropriate for them. So I think that's a great idea, Marty.
No, thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else on the anniversary event, then the next point would be the community resource guide. And we had brought this up a couple of meetings ago, I think, as something that we wanted to look at to see if we could update, and was wondering if anybody would be interested in, you know, taking a look at that and seeing if there is, you know, some way to improve it or to update it in any way. Karen, I don't know if that's something that you'd ever be interested in or if you have time for it. Just tossing it out there, since you obviously have a little bit more experience than I do, as an example, with all of your experience in Norwalk and Bridgeport. But that's something that we talked about that hasn't been updated in a while.
You know, maybe a subcommittee of, you know, a couple of people, so it's not all on one person. And it might also be a great resource to add a couple of pages of things, you know, of these successes. You know, as long as we're compiling that list anyway.
Yeah, and all the things that Tom, you know, could potentially bring to the table would be great to be included in that, if nothing as that is the update.
Yeah.
This is Karen. Absolutely. I think that's really important to have a point person in the town to deal with ADA issues, but make it known that he's available. In fact, I was just on the website for the office, the disabilities office, and I saw Julie's name and picture, and it was very pretty. I really liked it. But I think we need Tom on that site as well, with the name and number and what he does.
I think he's got a web page. I'm just going to look while we're here. But I think he's got an ADA. Are you on your computer, Karen? Compliance.
Yes.
ADA Compliance Officer Fairfield. I think he's got a web page. You know, I'll figure this out and send it out to you, because I just saw that the other day.
Okay, but the other thing I was thinking of is that you've got the town directory, you know, and he should be on there too, don't you think?
I do. I agree with you.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's something that we can, I guess, further discuss as we move along. I mean, it'd be great to have a subcommittee, you know, folks that have time and the want to help update that. And I can go through it. There are a lot of things that I won't know about, but I will go through it as well. And anybody, if you're, you know, have time and are interested, you know, let everybody on the commission know.
Great.
Well,
I'd
what
be
is the last
area
this is Karen.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Karen. Go ahead.
Sorry. I'd be willing to do that too. I won't be home until April, but I'll begin to take a look at it at that point, if that's okay.
Perfect, Karen. Any help we can get would be great. I mean, otherwise it ultimately will stay as it is, and I think if nothing else, we can, you know, give it some kind of a freshening. And, you know, whenever you have an opportunity, and myself and anybody else as well, that would be great. Something is better than nothing.
Alder, this is Dan. Just curious, like if we start looking at this directory, what are the things we want to do as we're looking at it? Like, are we confirming the contact information for these different organizations is correct? And then beyond that, is it, there's things, are there things that are not on here? Like, so would there be someone who would have an eye for being able to look at this directory and say, hey, I noticed that this organization is not listed here, or this need is not really, there's no information on what I would do if I have this need that comes up. I mean, I look at this and I feel like I could look through and make sure that the information that's in here is accurate by doing like Google searches and things like that, but I may not have a discerning eye for what's missing from this list. So is there, like when we look at this, do you want us to, what are the things you want us to be looking at it with an eye for?
I think, great question, Dan, thank you. I think it's twofold. I think it's both of what you said, but the first is what's current. I'm sure that there are a lot of listings there that are no longer applicable or current or updated. And then the second would be, well, what's missing? And while, we don't necessarily want this to be a hodgepodge, obviously, we all have other things and lives that we lead, and, putting, 20 hours a week on this is not something that's going to happen. However, I think if we can make incremental advances in any way, shape, or form, the nice part is that it's a digital piece. So it's not a hard, it's not printed, so that we can continue to make updates as we go along.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. I wish I could be a little bit more detailed, but, it's a big piece, right? It's not just 10 or 15 pages. It's a lot longer than that. So anything that we can help, update or incrementally improve is better than leaving it the way it is today.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, just in terms of people who might want to be working on this, maybe someone who has an eye for what resources would be helpful to the community for people with disabilities. I think that would be helpful to have someone with that sort of eye working on this. And then, someone like myself, I could go start going through and checking contact information at least to make sure that what we have here is the most up to date. Kind of your first question that you mentioned we should focus on.
Yeah, and I can do that as well. I'm not sure if I'm in a personally of the proper place with enough experience or longevity, to know what's missing or what should be there other than what, recommendations would be. But I think for anybody that has, a recommendation for filling in a gap, then we bring it to the commission. We say, okay, great. That looks good. So if Adrian sees something or Karen sees something and says, you know what, this is missing, I think we should add this as a chapter or a subset or, whatever it might be, great.
Okay. Also, this is Karen again. I wanted to ask Marty if he'd be willing to, if he had some time to take a look at that, because you've got all this experience and knowledge of various organizations and programs in the community.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that, Karen. Yeah, no, I'd be very happy to take a look at that, of course.
This is Adrian. I'd also be happy to take a look and add some ideas. The thing that comes to mind, too, is there may be an opportunity to do some cross-referencing. For example, every spring and summer, I think the Fairfield Parks and Recs puts out a guide about recreational activities, including adaptive and for all types of needs. So even a link to, being able to link to that, because people, again, could be trying to get their information from a number of different sources. And if we wanted to try to make this, all inclusive, even if it's just directing folks to other websites so they know they can look, if you're looking for sports activities or, recreational things, the Parks and Recs puts out a guide every, I think, twice a year of different activities folks can sign up for.
That'd be terrific.
Mm-hmm.
Just as an example, I again, electric wheelchair, and trying to find an eye doctor that doesn't require me getting in their chair, but they can actually, work from my own personal chair and then put the, the mechanisms around it, the equipment. is very difficult. And I've gone through a bunch of them, and they all say, yeah, no, you've got to get out, or, we can't do that. I finally found a place called Refocus at One Sasco, just on the way towards Southport. I'm going to go to them in a couple of days. I think small things like that. Again, I speak just from the wheelchair standpoint, just because it's right in front of me. But when I go there, I'll ask about other, disabled or services for the disabled that they might offer. But even including a resource such as that, while it's not trying to specifically promote Refocus, I must have called 10 places, and they're all like, yeah, no. So it would be great as a, community resource to put things of that nature down as well, I think.
Yeah. Julie, my only hesitation with that is it's a town document, so we are not able to recommend any one business over another. That would be a great thing to add to if we were to do a canvas of businesses to say, to highlight a service. Remember we had talked about maybe highlighting,
Yes.
once a month a business, something like that. I would hesitate putting it in the directory because I'm not sure we can do that. I wouldn't hesitate.
Okay.
I don't think that is just saying, but.
Okay.
That's a good point, because that's exactly, I think, what we were driving at before is like, what is the criteria to be in the directory? So we can't put, for example, my daughter goes to a dance class that has dancing for all abilities, which includes cognitive, disability, physical, but it would be one dance school over another. So we couldn't include that because we don't want to promote a business, it sounds like, right?
Right, but we could promote it in a different way with a list of, highlighted businesses that are amazing. That could be something. Sorry.
Yeah, this is Marty Schwartz. I'm just wondering if we had criteria established for, what we'd be identifying the businesses as having, then I would think we would be able to include it because any business that we were aware of that met that criteria would be included.
Yeah.
Excellent. I think that's great.
Yeah.
We just have to determine what those criteria are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree. The dancing school, for somebody that just moves here, do they have to call 5 or 6 or 7 different places? Same thing for the eye doctor or for whoever else it might be. Somehow, if there is a way for us to, slowly or, however, build that list, that could only be helpful for, people, individuals and families. Honestly, I must have called 10 places and I was really frustrated.
Right.
This is Karen again. We did a survey of, this is folks in the state, to find a gynecological office that would serve women with disabilities who use power chairs. And we finally found someone in the state, but it may take that kind of looking at specific things that you may not find in this town.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll follow up with the town to see what we would be limited to doing, and if we could, like for instance, the dance school. If it's the only dance school that offers any kind of adaptive program, are we in trouble for highlighting that? Let me follow up on that part of it. Okay.
This is Dan. I have a question. If we draw a distinction between, if this were the sort of list where we're not claiming it to be in more of the official governmental, like ADA compliance sort of world, but these are businesses and resources that the town likes to highlight because we find that they are friendly to families with individuals with disabilities. Is that something the town would be willing to host on their website or something like that? We're not claiming any sort of legal governmental status, but we are saying, hey, we really appreciate what these businesses are doing and how they're caring for our citizens. And then on the flip side of it, we don't have to be overly stringent gatekeepers to these businesses, but if they're willing to say, hey, these are the things we're doing to support families in our community, it's almost like a win-win because it's raising awareness for us to be able to say, hey, here are some businesses that are mindful of maybe some of the challenges that you might, like finding an eye doctor or whatever. I feel like that maybe the town would be open to.
Right, but then that could be like featuring, if we had a sticker.
Right.
That and it had a list of business that are accessible, and we wanted to do a sticker, we wanted to have that program.
Right.
There's going to have to be some kind of differentiation. So maybe not a directory of resources, but a directory or a list of businesses. I'll do some homework. I don't know the answer to it.
Okay.
This is Patty. This is Patty Donahue. I'm listening also. Hi, how are you?
Good.
One thing I was just thinking when speaking about this is I was just talking to my son's therapist about this today. It is so much word of mouth, and when I find something great, I text it to all my special needs, network. Here, you should do this. But this would be a wonderful way not only to make us and others aware of it, but look, if you're a different dance company and you're saying, they are doing something for special needs, maybe I want to jump on board and do that too and become one of the recognized businesses that, preferred by them. It might encourage them as well to make some changes or adapt in ways that are beneficial for us as well.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, peer pressure is a great force.
It is. All right. So
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay. Good one.
All right, terrific. Does anybody have anything else to mention about the resource guide? Otherwise, we'll go to updating goals and opportunities, which does anybody have anything that they'd like to update with regards to the commission's charge or goals and opportunities? All right, terrific. Julie, any department updates that we should be thinking about?
Yeah, we've got a couple of them. One is that the town is working on emergency planning in terms of how we would have a family assistance center if there were a mass event. We've gone through a lot of training. The fire department's fire chief is our emergency planning officer, and he is kind of leading us through the process of making sure that, God forbid something happened, we have a plan. And part of that plan is Fairfield Behavioral Health Response Team, which is something that's out of this department that is loosely based on the state DBURN unit, which is a group of mental health professionals in 5 regions that are on call if there is an event that needs a larger response than like a police or a fire or social services. And it's a group made up of clergy members, of social service providers, of our department, and Dan has volunteered to be on that group representing the commission and himself and his congregation. So that's great news for us.
Cool.
Yeah. Another one is we have office space now for the Veterans Affairs Office. They opened March 1st. We are their regional home base for all things veterans. It's the Department of Veterans Services for the state. Each region of each congressional district has officers that work with people, veterans of all ages and their families. So that is now based in our building, which is another good piece of news. And lastly is Fairfield is about to undertake becoming, and we were just designated an age-friendly community by AARP. It's a WHO, World Health Organization project that helps identify communities that are, it's towns and states that are making changes and making strides in making sure that their community is someplace that people want to live and age in. There'll be a survey coming out. It kind of falls right into what we're doing. It's not just, everybody's striving to become older, but with that becomes limits, and disabilities and illnesses. And we're looking at the whole town. There's 8 different domains, from transportation to housing to community events and activities and facilities. And if anybody might be interested in serving on an advisory for this, it's a small group that will work on this. This is a 3 to 5 year project. It'll start out as a monthly meeting and then hopefully eventually next year turn to quarterly. And there's a whole process. Anybody who's interested, shoot me an email, and I'll send you the information about it. It's a long process, but it's a really great thing for us because Fairfield is a great community, and we'll be looking at these things. You know, there's a walkability tour where you walk neighborhoods to find out if it's someplace that people can, you know, walk down the street. It's sidewalks again, it's accessibility to buildings and stores and facilities. So a lot of this is overlap. So just send me an email if you're interested.
Great.
And that's all I got.
That's great. Thank you, Julie. That's awesome. Anybody? Any other business? Any other thoughts on anybody's mind? I guess actually a quick question before I get it. Did the folks from the RTM Senior and Disabled Tax Relief have a chance to stop by?
Not in person.
Okay.
Oh, okay. You know,
otherwise?
we have minutes to approve from last month. I didn't add that to the agenda, but we can still. And now we have a quorum, which is awesome.
Great. I read them. I motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Anybody want a second?
So approved. So approved. Okay.
Great. Terrific. Well, if nobody has any other business to bring up, but if you do, now's a great time.
I have one piece of information I wanted to share. It's Karen Roseman, the social worker that works for the town police department, has been very helpful in dealing with some folks in our community. And I just wanted to mention that. She has worked with some people in my condo and has been great.
Yeah, she is awesome, isn't she?
Yeah.
That's terrific. That's terrific. Love to hear a good story. Okay, anybody? If nothing else, then I believe we can call this meeting adjourned.
I move for adjournment.
Perfect. Unless there's a public comment. I'm sorry, I forgot the last point. Unless there's a public comment. And I believe there's not. Well, this was a great meeting, everybody. Thank you so much. I think we got a ton accomplished. Tom's not on, but thank you to Tom. And a huge shout out to Adrian. You have done a lot of work in the last, month and a half or more than that on the SHU project. Thank you so much. I know getting that survey was, not easy to start with, and also dealing with Mary Ellen and the students. And look forward to more of that. And then, we'll work through all of the other aspects, and then we'll talk more about the community resource guide as we move forward. But, anybody who can help with that, that would be great. And Dan, as you said, I will also go through, Google search and make sure that the business is around and make some phone calls. But Karen and Adrian, as you're able to help, that would be great also.
Thank you, Alder.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Hope you all have a great rest of your week.